At the Asher Longevity Institute, we have re-engineered longevity to see what it takes to live an unlimited life. We began with a group of engineers and doctors. We began with the assumption of an unlimited life, worked backwards, and developed the 9 steps to achieve this goal. In this first of 10 videos, our CEO, John Asher, describes the fundamental reasons that currently limit lifespan and health span. In the succeeding series of 9 additional videos, he shares the details of each of the 9 steps towards an unlimited life. Let's drop into the presentation now.
Here's the first part of the problem. Most of us die from one of these 5 diseases, and almost all of them involve what's called chronic inflammation, low-level inflammation in our body. 50% of the deaths are due to it. The second part of the problem is essentially 1 in every $5 spent in the U.S. is spent on healthcare, which is great because we have such a great healthcare system in the U.S., great technology, great drug companies, great medical devices. But the problem with that is most of that money is spent in the last 3 years of people's lives, trying to keep people alive at the end of their life. And then the emerging problem, the third one, is this. Right now, 40% of us are obese, another 30% overweight. You can see how many people have type 2 diabetes. It's essentially 30 million people, and half the people have high blood pressure, again, causing chronic inflammation. So that's the problem. So the solution, what we've come up with, is 9 steps towards an unlimited life, and the 9th step's always the most important. And that is be aware of emerging technologies, therapies, studies, trials, and don't wait for 20 years to implement if they've been proven. Implement right away. Be an early adopter. So we've read 30 books on longevity. Now I'm just going to show you what we consider the top 10 here. I love those last two ones. The grain brain. It's all about if you eat too much grain and too much sugar, you're essentially killing yourself. And Hacking Darwin is another great title. So in other words, not just a couple of engineers making stuff up on slides. This is all based on everything available out there for longevity and age reversal. So if you go back to Simon Sinek, every company can describe what they do. So here's what we do. And we want to do this so that the last bullet will compel everybody to take action who sees this. Simon says every company can describe how they do it. So here's how we do it. And he says, of course, very few companies can describe why they do what they do. And so here's our why that Dick mentioned. Just a modest why. But that's our why. That's what's driving us. Here's our USP, unique selling proposition. So here's the 5 co-founders who put in the capital to get the company started. The 2 on the right are other engineers like me. They're actually in Vistage companies. Dr. Boone's in a Vistage company as well. He's a Vistage member of a group in Denver. Now, if you sum up what all these researchers are saying, they'll essentially say this. We're really on the cusp. We're on the threshold of really understanding what to do to live a much longer and healthier life. And when you look at some of the prestigious organizations and what they're saying, if you take the one on the left, JAMA, the premier medical journal in the U.S., JAMA, you can see what they're saying. And over here to the right, these are not fly-by-night organizations. This is the Scripps Institute, the world-famous Scripps Institute, the Mayo Clinic. We've all heard of the Mayo Clinic. And there's an explosion of money going into this, an explosion. You can see some of these companies on the right putting lots of money into this. I don't even have Bill Gates and all his money going into this on the list. And there's an explosion of longevity startups. Many going public almost every day. About a year ago, I transferred a third of my 401k funds into this. So let's start with the basics. Here's why we die. It's basically our tissues and organs have lost the ability to maintain themselves and, when injured, to repair themselves. That's the fundamental reason we die. And there's 4 major contributing causes to this. Here's the first one. So we accumulate all these dead proteins in our body. They're easily washed out in our body by the lymphatic system. But in the brain, not so much. There's a lymphatic system in our brain, and the brain is a constrained space with the skull. So the dead proteins will easily agglomerate together. And if you eat too much sugar, the sugar will cause what are called cross-links, cause all these dead proteins to stick together. And then when this gets going too much, dementia, Alzheimer's will ensue. That's the first reason. And you can see here comes the chronic inflammation again. Here's the second reason we die. There's a large protein in our body that is responsible for fast growth. So when we're born, it causes us to grow really quickly to adulthood, only 18 years. It'll cause a calf to grow in six months to adulthood, essentially. And the reason evolution makes those calves grow so much faster is because they can ward off predators quickly. The trouble is, once you achieve adult maturity, it doesn't turn off, that fast growth protein. So when you get cancer, it's the reason cancer grows so fast. For example, if we get certain types of brain cancer, we're talking about weeks. Pancreatic cancer, months. So that's the second reason we die, is this fast growth protein still there, still causing cancers to grow quickly, and other diseases as well. The third reason is every cell has a coenzyme called NAD+. Some of you may be taking an NAD+ supplement. And the trouble is, at age 80, we're down to 2% left. And there's a real strong correlation between men typically living to about 80 and NAD+ having essentially gone away. Then the fourth is the thymus gland right in the middle of our chest. By age 70 is shriveled up and gone. And it is the central part of our immune system, the thymus gland in the gut. So by about age 70, it's gone. And it explains why so many people that are over 70 every year die from the flu. You can see it was one of those 5 major causes of death: die from the flu, bacterial or viral pneumonia, and now, of course, COVID-19. So those are the 4 basic reasons that contribute to why we all die. And then there's other contributing causes, minor causes that feed in. And again, you can see chronic inflammation popping up. So if 50% of the deaths are due to chronic inflammation, let's take a quick look at the difference between acute inflammation. So if we get a sprained ankle or a cut, the body just sends in, boom, immune cells to fix it quickly. Chronic inflammation is low-level continuing inflammation throughout our life. So here's first is acute inflammation. So the trouble is, if it's a big injury, the immune system literally sends in what are called the hand grenades of the immune system that blow up everything in sight. And you may have heard Dr. Birx and Dr. Fauci talk about this. This is why the COVID-19 is so dangerous, especially for older people. The immune system actually turns on their bodies, lungs fill up with fluid, and they die. Here's chronic inflammation. So if you have chronic inflammation, you can see from the second bullet what it does. And from the third bullet, you can see all the various diseases that it contributes to. So acute inflammation, good. It's going to fix something that's wrong. Chronic inflammation, bad, because of this. Now let's see what causes the chronic inflammation, what we can do about it. Well, first, it's caused by low-level infections, Lyme disease, hepatitis C, that just last a long time. Second, we all have good genes. There's no bad genes. It's just some people have bad genes. Like 1 in 4 women has the BRCA gene that's bad, that's particularly bad for causing breast cancer. So some bad genes will cause chronic inflammation. Environmental factors can cause it, polluted water, bad air. And then the one we can really control is the fourth bullet, and that is our lifestyle choices. And all these choices down there in the bottom, we all know about. We've all heard of all of these. And we probably all know we shouldn't be involved in these, but they'll all cause chronic inflammation. So that's why chronic inflammation is so bad. Now, when you reverse engineer all this information, the problem, etc., we've come up with 9 steps to live towards an unlimited life. So 1's all about sleep, 2's all about a great diet, 3 is all about your gut microbiome, and that's really has emerged in the last 2 or 3 years as something so important. We'll look at it in detail. 4, get annual blood tests, or even more frequently, so you can see that all your biomarkers are in the right, in the right range. There are some supplements that are important for warding off disease. I mentioned 3 of them already. There are also, this is controversial now, 7 prescription drugs that have an adjuvant or additional or off-label use for longevity. And this is big in the news right now also. So I'm sure some of you have heard that there are drugs already approved by the FDA for malaria, lupus, that could have an effect, a benefit to people with COVID-19. And so for the first time in the history of the FDA has started an emergency clinical trial of those drugs at 1,000 patients in New York City, just to see if there really is a benefit when you start using them right away. Well, there's 7 of them that are important for longevity and all kinds of interesting proof behind them. Now, step 7, if you go back and look at those 4 principal causes of aging and ask, well, what can we do about each one? There's an answer for that. That's step 7. Step 8, by age 65, our stem cells are pretty much gone, down to 2%. And a stem cell is a cell that can morph into any other cell. So if you have a problem with your heart and you lose some of the cells and the heart's damaged, stem cells can come in and morph themselves into new heart cells. Same with a stroke in your brain. So we don't, those repair cells, so to speak, are pretty much gone by age 65. And then the 9th and most important step is, again, stay abreast of all the new stuff coming. Be an early adopter if your goal is to live much longer with a higher quality of life.
We hope you enjoyed this video, and don't forget to watch the entire series, including the most important 9th step. To stay up to date on the science behind achieving an unlimited life, please visit www.asherlongevity.com.